Welcome to Real Estate Real World, where we talk to the movers, shakers, and leaders that are getting it done right now in the real estate industry and beyond. I'm your host, Marguerite Crespillo, and I started this podcast simply dedicated to calling people about what's really happening in this crazy roller coaster ride of real estate. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and stay up to date on the newest stuff by adding yourself to the list at www.realestaterealworld.com. Now, let's dive into the world of real estate. Hey, it's Marguerite Crespillo, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Real Estate Real World, where we get to talk to all the cool people. And today is no exception. We have a very special guest who I've gotten to know recently because he has an extraordinary program that he has developed and created. But among that, he's even a better networker, business builder, extraordinary success model here at EXP Realty. And let me read his bio. So today we have Eric Orland with us with over 33 years in real estate. He's got me beat by a couple of years. Eric stands as a top producing agent, a nationally recognized real estate coach, and one of the fastest builders at EXP Realty. In just 5 short years, he has expanded his organization to over 3,000 agents. As the creator of Attractify, an innovative attraction system, he empowers others to replicate his remarkable success. A proud UCLA graduate from the class of 1984, Eric Orland now calls Puerto Rico home. Above his professional achievements, he treasures his role as the father of his amazing son, Jackson. Welcome to the show, Eric.
Marguerite, it's nice to be here. Thank you. It's quite an introduction. But 1984, I'm realizing I'm getting old, huh?
It happens to the best of us. I just turned 61 last week. So yeah, time flies, doesn't it?
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. And I'm going to say here, you are sitting in a restaurant there in Puerto Rico. And thank you for making this happen. I know you've had a very busy schedule and you've had to squeeze us in, but we're super honored that you're here today. So thank you so much.
I want to thank you for the invite. It's nice to be here with you.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your background. So 33 years in real estate. Holy schmoly. You got me beat by 2 years. It'll be 31 years next week for me.
Yeah, my background, I graduated from UCLA in 1984, and I love the idea of living in Hermosa Beach and playing beach volleyball, which I did really, really well, but I refused to get a job. And, time kind of got away. And at the age of 30, I did not have a whole lot of skills. I'd walk around with a big smile, smelling like a rose, but on the inside, if you know what I meant, I stunk like a skunk because I had no sense of accomplishment in my life. Right. So I was marrying into a family at the time where my ex-wife ran the White House Women's Office for Bill Clinton and then ran Barack's campaign. And her sister is Dee Dee Myers, the former White House press secretary.
Oh, wow.
And I was marrying into a family, and here I was jobless, right? And my soon-to-be in-law said to me, "Hey, Eric, it's about time you lost the flip-flops, put on some real clothes and got a job." And I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. And my mother-in-law was the manager of a RE/MAX office in Santa Clarita, which is about 35 miles north of Los Angeles. And she brought up real estate to me, and my response was, "Isn't real estate for housewives?" And she kind of smirked and she laughed and said, "You know what? That's really interesting coming from someone that's unemployed. I don't know if you've heard or seen the signs. These guys, Lou Fricke and Dana Kellstrom, but they both make over $1 million a year."
Wow.
And, I heard that and my ears kind of perked up. And I went into real estate with the mindset, because I had never had much success, Marguerite, in my life, to be honest, that I was willing to swim through rivers or crawl over mountains in order to have the success that I wanted to have. And I went to every real estate coach and trainer I could find, and I memorized scripts. I knew how to isolate, handle, and overcome any objection I heard. And I sold a ridiculous amount of homes. I believe I was second year, I was top RE/MAX 15 in the state of California. So I really, really crushed it. And then, as life would have it, my ex got a job with the Clinton administration. We moved back to DC. And I didn't want to build another business in DC and ultimately move back to California. So I've always believed the more you give in life, the more you receive, right? The more you give, the more you receive. But if something else happens, when you're teaching others, when you give, There's a sense of accountability that's now in place. You have to walk the walk and talk the talk, otherwise you look fraudulent.
Right.
So I started teaching agents throughout the Mid-Atlantic, and I did that for the next 20, 25 years, coaching and training realtors. And I really love that. It was something that I truly, truly enjoyed. And ultimately, it led me to the EXP opportunity, where I've had an amazing, amazing success, really with the same exact mindset that I was willing to do whatever it took to embrace this incredible cloud-based brokerage that is the only publicly traded and profitable cloud-based brokerage with dominant market share and first mover advantage. And I saw that with the different features and benefits that it offered as a unique and incredible opportunity for me to build something special. And that has really been my focus for the last 5 years.
That's amazing. And so funny story. One of my very good friends, her name's Marcella Lees, and she played volleyball. I think she was at UCLA, and she was in the Final Four. And it's hilarious because we live in Lincoln, up in Northern California, and we had put in like just a fun volleyball court years ago. So my friend Marcella comes over, and she's all excited because we have this, like, it's just a grass volleyball court, nothing fancy. And she goes, "Come play with me." I go, "Oh no, I'm not an athlete. I'm not by any means. I have no athletic skill." She goes, "Oh no, it's not that big a deal. I'll show you. I'll show you." So I get on her team of volleyball, and I played like 5 minutes. She goes, "Oh honey, I think you're a better cheerleader." and, and she's one of my favorite people ever. But I'm like, yes, I'm a better cheerleader than an athlete. But I love your story because I didn't get my real estate license till I turned 30. And same thing, I always say I got fired from more jobs than I was hired from. I was unemployable for many years. And now I have sons who are 28 and 29, and they're kind of, trying to figure that out. My one son has taken his real estate exam here. He's not passed a couple times, but he's working on it. And it's funny, it seems like that's almost the age that a lot of us like maybe kind of start to figure life out, or figure that, okay, I guess we can't like hang out on the beach all day, so
Right.
and we have to find our path. And you definitely found a path that worked for you. And so how did you even find out about EXP? Who approached you? How did you get here?
So I was in Austin, Texas, and I think I've been there once or twice in my life. I was in Austin, Texas, on a business meeting, and I ran into a gentleman by the name of Kevin Cottrell. I don't know if you're familiar with Kevin, but he's Gene's business partner. Kevin works really closely with Gene. And he heard I was going to be in an event in Austin. He came up to me and he pitched me, Marguerite, on EXP. And my response was the following: "Kevin, let me be clear. Never in this lifetime will I join EXP. Never in this lifetime will I
love
join
this story.
EXP." Well, to be really transparent, 3 years later, I wound up going broke at age 58. So at age 58, I wound up losing everything. And I come from a family of overachievers. My younger brother's a vascular surgeon, and I have an older sister who's also a doctor, a Yale doctor, married to a Yale doctor. And at 58, I lost everything. And it was the exact same time, Marguerite, that my son, 23. So we have very similar paths, same age son. So my son is 23. And at 18 years old, 5 years ago, he had gotten into Syracuse University. He was born and raised in Burlingame, California, right near the San Francisco airport. And my mantra to him was always, "Jackson, work hard. And whatever school you get into, I'll be happy to foot the bill." Well, I lost everything. And I had one of the most humbling experiences of my life. Was looking at him with tears running down my face saying, "I love you, but I can't afford your college education." At that point in time, I didn't know how I was going to put a roof over my head or put food on the table. So I came back and I revisited EXP, and I had spent, Marguerite, 3 years trying to blow holes into why the model was ridiculous. And here I came back without much else to do. And I looked at the model, and what I quickly realized is EXP is just what it is. It gives agents support, coaching, training, and technology that has never, ever, ever been realized before in the real estate sector, allowing for people like you and I to be the very best professional versions of ourselves. But it also provides multiple streams of income, allowing for us as realtors not only have the chance to make money that's never been heard of before in the industry, but to provide us a level of financial stability and security that realtors had never, ever had. And I made a solemn vow to myself then. And the vow was the following: I was never going to become a snake oil salesman and try to ram this model down people's throat what I was going to do in the most spiritually healthy way possible was simply ask somebody for the opportunity to compare and contrast what they were receiving from their existing brokerage partner versus what EXP was offering, so they and they alone could determine if EXP aligned with the direction that they wanted to take their business. And I took it seriously, and I've been very fortunate. I've built out an organization of almost 3,000 people. My business today is almost an autopilot. And I've really worked hard at putting together a blueprint or a map, because at 58, I was so broke. I felt like it was my last chance to really dust myself off and get back up on the horse. So I created a blueprint. I created a map that if I followed, I knew would ultimately lead me to a pot of gold. And that system is called Attractify. And this is a course that that I made available to agents at EXP. And this is something that I have followed verbatim. So it is comprehensive. It's super easy to implement, and it's time tested. It's time tested. And I made that for myself. And then I realized, wow, I was bringing on an extraordinary amount of people. I then felt I had the ability to share that with people in my group. And now it's just kind of snowballed, and people want to be at EXP. Many people want to be a part of this. So they clearly understand what steps are necessary and have the right tools and systems to build out the type of organization that they desire.
What an inspirational story. I mean, I for 22 years, my husband and I owned an independent brokerage, and we had about 120 agents. And 2015, kind of similar story. We ended up shutting down the brokerage and lost everything. And then Brent approached me at the end of 2016. And prior to that, I was like, I'll never join another company. I mean, I got recruited by everybody. I got flown to, Austin, Texas. I got, talked to by Remax. And I was like, no, not interested. Doesn't work for me. And I'll never forget Brent calling me, and I was at Disneyland with my kids. And he's like, hey, and Brent was always selling something. I love him so much, but he was always selling something, right? I'm like, I don't know what you're doing now, Brent, but, thanks anyway. I'm going to just, focus on doing my own thing. So a few days later, I'm at my office, and he calls, he goes, hey, do you want to go to lunch? And I'm like, where are you? And he goes, I'm across the street. Like, okay, Brent. And so I ended up going and having lunch with him, spent about an hour chit chatting. And he goes, come to my office. I'm like, what is it you're doing, Brent? He goes, I go, what is this EXP thing? He goes, just come to my office tomorrow morning at 8 and bring Joe. I'm like, okay. So I went, and the next day, and then that's what Rob Flick, they were doing live webinars then. And on a live, it was 2 hours, almost like an hour and a half, this live model explained. And, I have to admit, probably 10 minutes in, I was like, this makes sense, but I spent 22 years running my own brokerage. So I really knew and understood it. And it's been obviously for me one of the best decisions I've ever made. And I'm super grateful for every bit of this company. But I know with Attractify, you've done some pretty cool stuff. And it's my understanding you've got an even better system coming out in like January or something, right?
So the system in place right now is called Attraction Flow. And what we decided to do is go through a complete remake of the system using a lot of artificial intelligence and automations, but redesigning, making a much better user interface. And so the new product coming out in January is called Attractify. We're now starting to move from the Attraction Flow brand to Attractify, but I'm really, really proud of it. It is just unlike anything on the market today. It allows agents to not only have an incredible system that has all of our communication tools, it has all of our email and text campaigns, our drip campaigns, our automations and notifications, but we have up to 8 to 10 classes each and every week where people can jump on a call with us and listen to us prospecting, listening firsthand how we're going about building an organization and the questions that we're asking to people, and then listening to them on the phone and giving feedback. The whole focal point of Attractify, is to really kind of stress to people, you don't have to sell EXP. We want people to simply get comfortable to inviting people to learn more about EXP so they can determine if EXP aligns with the direction that they want to take their business. So we do multiple weekly calls, what we call introduction to EXP calls or agent attraction calls, where we explain the model. We do Q&As multiple times a week. So there's a lot of hand-holding to ensure the agent is successful. And then the system with AI and automation is just absolutely incredible. With the click of a button, it sends out drip campaigns to video email automation campaigns. It's just something that we're really proud of and interested in really excited to bring to the market. So anybody who's interested, if you simply go to Attractify, ATTRACTIFY.ai, you can see on the website exactly what Attractify is about and how we're going about scaling it.
And we'll definitely put links to that in the show notes so people can check it out. But tell me from the beginning, how did you decide to create your own product like that, your own CRM that
It's a really good question, Marguerite. I think that I was so at 58 and being broke, I didn't view it that I had many more chances to really have financial stability in my life, and I had to make sure that this opportunity with EXP worked for me. So I spent the time putting tools and systems in place that acted as a blueprint for me, or a map that would lead me to a pot of gold. So I became very comfortable with how to approach somebody by asking them questions and seeing if they were open-minded to exploring EXP. I became very good at being able to handle any objections somebody gave with me regarding EXP to see if I could get them to take a look at the platform. So I created Attractify with the mindset of having a blueprint in place for me to ensure my success, because I've always believed in the adage, people don't plan on failing, they fail to plan. So I wanted to have a plan in place that I could execute on that I knew would ultimately lead me to a pot of gold. And it's really worked out perfectly. And then once I realized it worked for me, I was willing to share that with everybody that was part of my organization, because it behooved me to share whatever time, effort, and resources I had with whoever part of my organization, because as they grew, my organization would grow simultaneously.
So there's that famous saying that a friend of mine, I think, created, I don't know, it says no way out but through, right? And many of us don't look at options until we have none, right? So
Yeah.
we sit there and we go, okay, now what do I do? And out of desperation, many times comes opportunities that you might not have been as open minded to see or visualize until you got no place to go, right?
It's true. And I was really clear how I was measuring my success. So my focus was each and every day that I would prospect for a minimum of 90 minutes a day, 90 minutes a day. And then I started to measure that if I called or reached out to people or met with people for 90 minutes a day, that I would put a minimum of 3 people in my database a day that indicated to me, based on the strength of the questions that I asked, that they were open-minded to learn more about EXP and they were potentially receptive to joining my organization. And my model was very simple. If I connected with 3 people a day that said they were open-minded and receptive to joining my group, at the end of 5 work days, I'd have 15 people in my database. At the end of a month, I'd have 60. At the end of a year, there would be 700, what I would call qualified leads in my database. And if I converted 10% of them, that's 72 people on my front line. I've now built a multi-$100,000 business.
Yeah.
And I have followed that model in perpetuity. And I've always believed, again, that the size and strength of one's database will determine the size and strength of their business, whether they're in production or whether they're out there trying to attract agents to build out a revenue share organization.
That's so true, because I have actually ironically preached about the value of my database since I got into real estate.
Yeah.
And my my production business, not EXP, consistently produces, 30 to 40 transactions every single year without me doing much to it. And it's just a matter of converting that same thought system into attracting agents, right?
It is, Margaret. It really, really is. And then, I always, not only did I focus on building a database, but I respected my database, meaning that I wasn't just readily willing to put anybody in my database. I felt like they had to earn that opportunity. Because when somebody goes into your database, it takes time, effort, and resources trying to move that relationship forward. So there were certain bogeys that I had put in place to ensure that somebody had to answer those questions correctly in order to enter my database. So I kind of acted as a guard that was very protective of that database to ensure that it never, ever, ever got convoluted.
So now that you've got this system in place and it sounds like it's pretty much on autopilot, what is next for you? What are you working on now for this next phase of your life, so to speak?
Yeah, I think EXP is just scratching the surface in terms of its growth. In the same way that Blockbuster Video or Hollywood Video are not coming back to take over Netflix or Amazon Prime, we're moving more to a cloud-based model. So
Yeah.
clearly, EXP has got dominant market share. We are the first company that's really, expanding internationally. We're now in 27 countries. We have 85,000 agents. I would not be surprised to see EXP have north of 500,000 agents internationally within the next 7 to 10 years. Not surprised at all. And that's according to the Wall Street Journal and Motley Fools, the stock pickers in CNBC. I just think the model is unprecedented. If you compare it and contrast it to what I would call the copycat models, we have no competition. Again, we have first mover advantage, dominant market share, and we are the only publicly traded and profitable cloud-based brokerage. So I kind of feel, for me, I'm just scratching the surface. I'm at about 3,000 agents right now, and my goal, just to put it out there and hold me accountable, is I want 10,000 people in my organization within the next 4 to 5 years. And then what I would like to do is share the Attractify platform with other EXP agents and have several thousand people using the platform, which really kind of will affirm that, what I've worked on for, day and night for the last 5 years has a lot of merit to it. So my goal is to continue to bring Attractify to the agents at EXP who are serious about about having that rev share organization that they desire. And I'm a firm believer that if you follow the simple steps that we're teaching and use the system that we provide, an agent can't not have success. Not saying that every agent is going to make $1 million a year, but think about this, Marguerite. If the system allowed for an agent to make an extra $5,000 or $10,000 a month, would that not be a complete game changer?
100%. 100%.
I mean, what level of stress or anxiety would be alleviated from that realtor's life? Or what would it mean to that realtor and their family? I know what it meant to me and my family. It changed our lives.
It's funny because a few months ago, I was at a leadership meeting up in Seattle with Glenn and several of the others. And Glenn made a comment, and as far as I know, this is public, hopefully it is, but he said, there's going to be all these copycats and they'll be fighting for second place. They're going to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars to get second place. But like there's nobody's beating Amazon, right? And there's lots of people who are fighting for second place with Amazon, but there's nobody out there. Amazon was the first one to market, and so I've been a huge fan and proponent. I mean, I remember, Glenn, when we joined EXP, there were only 1,400 agents. So, I remember sitting having coffee with him, here locally at the restaurants and stuff. So it is an incredible model. And I guess the biggest question is, what more can we do as a company to help people see that this is the model that makes the most sense, especially when there's all these, like you said, copycats who are popping up and promising the world. But what I've heard a lot of is they're promising the world, but they're not delivering. Where it's been my experience that whatever has been promised here for the most part at EXP has been delivered, and we're already there. Like, we've gone through all the rough parts, right? Like Brent and I talk about in the beginning how we were on this, dirt road with potholes and rocks and all kinds, and now the road's paved, the highway's in, the bullet train is on its way. And it's exciting to see the changes after all this time.
Completely. Having been a former investment banker, I worked for a well-known investment banking firm in San Francisco called Robertson Stevens. I don't know if you remember Robbie Stevens, but we were the tech shop on Wall Street at one point in time. We had taken public companies like Google, Amazon, eBay, Yahoo, just to name a few. And, an organization is only as good as its people. And I believe firmly, the organization management that we have in place right now, EXP, is absolutely stellar, with Glenn Sanford as our founder and Leo as our CEO. I think that the outlook for the company is so bright. And I think sometimes, if people would just put their guard down and take the time to really understand what EXP offers them, it's a game changer. It is an absolute game changer for any agent. Because the model at the end of the day allows agents to keep more of their hard-earned commissions. It allows them to have ownership and the brokerage firm that they're working at by hitting simple production milestones, and then of course revenue share. Instead of dumping money into an office, the company brilliantly and generously took $197 million last year and distributed back to those agents, we, like you and I, Marguerite, for simply doing the following: introducing EXP to other agents and helping to grow and build the company. So we now, for the first time ever, have been able to transform our business from being solely transactional as a realtor to now being able to have a passive and residual income and get paid like a broker without having any of the financial, legal, or managerial responsibilities of being a broker. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And again, I hope people let that marinate. $197 million was given back to the agents at EXP so they can enjoy a passive and residual income for simply helping to grow and build EXP. And where a broker gets paid out on one tier, I won't get too much in the woods here. At EXP, you get paid on 7 different tiers. And, you know, people say, I don't want to recruit agents. Well, you're really not. If you're selling real estate, Marguerite, tell me if you agree with me. If you're selling real estate, you have to be communicating with another realtor because you're either listening to offers or making offers. So a conversation exists. It's a simple add-on. As you're doing a transaction with somebody, hey, Marguerite, I really enjoyed doing this transaction with you. You displayed a high level of professionalism. I hope you'll take this as a compliment, which be open-minded to exploring. And I ask questions and see if I could be a servant leader, if I could be of service. And that's kind of always my mindset. But I do think that we are just so well positioned as a company. Like you said before, there's not another company that is in South or Central America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. We are in all corners of all continents. And we're the only company that can say that, the only cloud-based brokerage that can say that. It's absolutely amazing. So we do have just a huge head start on any of the copycat models.
Well, you know what? I'm not sure there's a whole lot more we can say about this amazing company, except that if you are interested at all, please reach out to one of us and we're happy to talk to you about what the opportunities are here. And Eric, I just want to take a couple minutes to thank you so much for being here today. I know it took a lot for you to make it, and you're there in Puerto Rico having a good time. I got to get out there and hang out with you guys at some point. I would love to. Well, thank you so much. I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon. I go here over the holidays, and I'm so grateful for your time. And thank you for creating Attractify. It's a pretty amazing program, and I promise to dig in a bit more to it and get more familiar with it. So thank you so much.
Marguerite, I want to thank you as well. Thank you for having me on today as your guest, and have a wonderful, wonderful holiday. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you. And thank you, everybody, for joining us again on Real Estate Real World, where we get to talk to all the cool people about all the amazing ideas and things that people are doing, the movers and shakers out there. Be sure to follow us on all the social media channels, and we would love a review if the opportunity arises for you to give us a review. Thank you again for joining us on Real Estate Real World, and go out and make it an amazing day.